23 progressives in the House of Representatives have signed a letter urging Vice President Kamala Harris to overrule the unelected Senate parliamentarian who recommended stripping the coronavirus relief bill of the proposal to increase the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. Now, Representative Khanna argued that Harris, as the presiding senator, has the power to do this. He says, quote, "We believe that the bill the president signs must include the House-passed minimum wage legislation. This is the moment to get this done, and it is within our control." The letter itself, by the way, said this: 81 million people cast their ballots to elect you, meaning Joe Biden, on a platform that called for $15 an hour minimum wage. We urge you to keep that promise. We must act now to prevent tens of millions of hardworking Americans from being underpaid any longer. And just to give you an idea of how much of an impact this would have on people's lives, Cenk, $15 an hour for the federal minimum wage would increase the wages of 32 million workers, a majority of whom currently obviously live below the poverty line, because the previous federal minimum wage, the one that has been implemented, is only $7.25, which is it's not even a minimum wage. That is a starvation wage. That's why we have so many people in this country who end up working full-time jobs, but still find themselves homeless, because it's not enough money to be able to pay your rent, to be able to buy groceries. You have people living in their cars while at the same time working full-time jobs at some of the biggest companies in this country.
Yeah, so first of all, I should also note that it would be a $92 billion pay increase per year for those 32 million Americans. So that's a giant number. That's why Chamber of Commerce hates it. And they're using every politician they have to try to kill it while you don't notice, right? Because they don't want to pay you more. They want to give that to their executives and their shareholders. So that's, otherwise this would be a no-brainer. Well over 2/3 of the country want this. 83% of the country, including every demographic, says that we need to increase the minimum wage. I mean, how much more popular does it have to be? The only reason why we're even having this debate is because big corporate donors have told not just Republicans, but Democrats, you are not allowed to do this. That's why I love the fight back from the House progressives. 23 of them in all, every one of them that signed is an American hero, honestly led by the Justice Democrats. They're all in there. Khanna is leading the charge. I want to give you another quote from Ro because it's so important. He said, "We've been asked politely but firmly to compromise on nearly all of our principles and goals. Not this time. If we don't overrule the Senate parliamentarian, we are condoning poverty wages for millions of Americans. That's why I'm leading my colleagues in urging the Biden administration to lean on the clear precedent and overrule this misguided decision. Give America a raise." There you go, Khanna, first ever Justice Democrat, and he did it when he was an incumbent and he didn't have to do it. He organized this letter, and great quotes from Cori Bush, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Jamal Bowman, you name it. And Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush make a great point. This affects African Americans and Latinos more than anyone else. So now the Biden administration and Kamala Harris are going to turn around and go, no, we care about the parliamentarian more than we care about you guys. And look, the reason why we never win is because there's never any pushback in Washington from progressives. And now they're pushing back and going, no, we're just not gonna let you get away with it. Bernie's gotta put it in the bill, and then Kamala Harris, as the presiding officer, as these other legislators are pointing out, has complete authority to put it in the bill. If she doesn't, it's not the parliamentarian's fault, it's not the Republicans' fault or Mitch McConnell's fault. It's Kamala Harris's fault. On the other hand, by the way, and they point this out, she could be the hero. Bernie puts it in the bill. He's the hero for bringing it all the way here and putting it in the bill, which hasn't happened yet. Then Kamala Harris comes in and saves the day as the presiding officer. She becomes the hero. So where's the downside?
I mean, Kamala Harris is planning on running for president.
Yes.
What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? You think you're gonna run for president and this won't come back to bite you? Of course it will. She ran her presidential campaign during the last Democratic primaries on this idea that she's very progressive, that she wants to fight for a $15 an hour minimum wage. And that's really the other part of this story that's so infuriating. They all think we're suckers. They all think that they can just lie to us, that they can campaign on proposals that they know is incredibly popular with people. I mean, Florida, a red state, just passed a minimum wage hike through a ballot initiative. 61% of Floridians voted to increase the federal minimum wage. This is something that's popular on both sides of the aisle because, again, it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, a liberal, conservative, progressive. We're all, as workers, living under this broken, unequal system where we sit back and watch people get paid starvation wages as they're working full time and living in the back of their trucks because they can't afford rent. At the same time, you have Jeff Bezos hoarding all that wealth. You have other corporate CEOs hoarding all their wealth. You have Silicon Valley CEOs making a ton of money during the coronavirus pandemic. There is no excuse to not include that provision in the coronavirus relief bill. There's no excuse for Kamala Harris to not overrule the parliamentarian. And then the third part of all of this, as you guys know, is to show up to West Virginia, show up to Arizona, and start rallying for this. Because you have Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin pretending as if a $15 an hour minimum wage hike is not popular. You better damn believe it is popular. So this is a bit of a fight. It's more than just one thing that we need to do. We need to ensure that it's in that final bill. We need to ensure that Kamala Harris does the right thing and overrules the parliamentarian. And then we got to make sure that Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema know that if they vote against a $15 an hour minimum wage, it'll come back to haunt them as well when they're ready to run for re-election.
Yeah, and guys, so I want to explain the process just a little bit better because it's so important and you can begin to see why this is very doable. So we're doing hashtag don't kill Bernie because Bernie hasn't even put it in the bill yet. That's unfortunately step one. It should be fortunately step one. So then you move on to step two, which is what these legislators are doing, which is pressuring Kamala Harris. To answer Anna's question, why is this even a hard question for Kamala Harris, who's gonna run in 2024? Because she's thinking she could kill it without anyone noticing, and that way she gets credit from her donors. And they go, great job, Kamala, we'll give you more money for killing it without anybody. And then she doesn't have to pay a price with the voters. But what the Justice Democrats and other progressives in the House are saying is, no, we're not gonna let you get away with it. If you're gonna kill it, you're gonna have to kill it in front of everyone. We're putting the spotlight on it. Now you got a real choice to make. Yes, that's why you needed progressives in the House. Let me read you Bowman's quote. This is Jamal Bowman, just Democrat, just won. He said, the American people gave the Biden administration a mandate in the past election, a mandate that included passing a $15 minimum wage. We didn't organize and show up at the polls for one unelected person to suppress wages, okay? No, this is not about suppressing wages. We promised the exact opposite, and so did you, Vice President Harris. So when you put that spotlight on, if she says, oh no, nope, I don't care, I'm gonna go against the voters, she's gonna be in a lot of trouble. On the other hand, if she comes in and Biden, meaning, remember how Biden did that to Obama on gay rights? He was like, oh, I'm coming out first. If she comes out first on $15 minimum wage and says she's overruling the parliament, by the way, she doesn't even have to overrule the parliament. Parliamentarian doesn't rule, just advice. If she says, yes, it's in the bill as a presiding officer, she's the hero, she saves the day, right? And then she delivers on her promises. And then, this is really important, then they need 60 votes to take it out. They don't have 60 votes. So if they somehow get to a 50 vote margin, they might have to kill a portion of the filibuster to do that. It's a win-win. So all we gotta do is they're right, Roe is right, Jamal's right, they're all right. You put Kamala Harris on the spot and we set up a win-win. And then at that point, if Manchin and Sinema wanna kill a part of the filibuster and then vote against higher wages, yes, there's gonna be a price to pay. And guys, we thought all of this out, okay? And then the last part of it is Rebellion PAC comes in. We already have ads ready against Manchin and Sinema, and we will unleash those. So, and please make us do that. No, look, I just want it to pass. I don't want to have to do that, but those ads are devastating and we will run them ad nauseum in West Virginia and Arizona. Because this is now the battle is joined. Before the establishment would just steamroll everything and the corporate media would run cover for them. And they'd play a shell game. Oh, Pelosi doesn't have the votes. Schumer doesn't have the votes. Oh, we both have the votes. Oh, now the parliamentarian. It's a shell game, and Justice Democrats are calling BS on it. Bernie joined the fight. And lastly, Elizabeth Warren came in today and said, yes, we got to ignore the parliamentarians' so-called advice, and we need to pass this thing. Put it in the bill and pass it. Warren's here. Justice Democrats are here. Bernie, show up and let's do this together.
Yeah, I agree. I wanted to give some more detail into what Warren said. So it was reported that she supports the calls from these House progressives to evade the parliamentarian to raise the federal minimum wage. And this is a direct quote. She says, this is a short-term solution, but the real solution is to get rid of the filibuster, she says. And I absolutely agree with that. And David Sirota, of course, quote tweeted that and said, good for Senator Warren, the first senator to speak up in support. Solid. We now have a situation where the Democratic president wants Democrats to side with Mitch McConnell on rules to block a House-passed Democratic minimum wage bill. Truly insane, and I couldn't agree more with that. So good for Senator Warren, and honestly, some of the known progressives in the Senate who have not chimed in yet. People like Senator Markey, for instance. It's a little bit of an issue. If I were you, I would definitely speak out immediately because people are paying close attention, including us. We don't have loyalties to people simply because they label themselves as progressives. We're gonna hold lawmakers accountable if they find themselves in a position to actually do the right thing and decide to do the wrong thing.
Yeah, so look, guys, understand how this went, and I swear to God, this is exactly how it went down. Friday night, after the parliamentarian ruled on Thursday, Friday night, this thing was almost $15 minimum wage was almost completely dead. And then TYT viewers came in, you guys signed a petition, you started doing videos, you started putting it online, and all of a sudden the plan B that Sanders and Wyden were gonna go to gone. They withdrew it in the weekend, and then Khanna and the Justice Democrats come in with the cavalry. That petition is so important, okay? So tyt.com/petition/don't kill it, Bernie. Then Khanna and the Justice Democrats come in and they create pressure from the House. Now what's Bernie's gonna do? Now he's got other progressives saying you gotta put it in the bill. Then when Warren comes in, she's out, for the moment being outflanking Bernie on the left. And now why wouldn't Bernie put it in if another senator is saying put it in, right? It would be weirdly corporate not to put it in. That makes no sense. So you guys started, there were other people involved, but not that many, honestly, okay? You guys started the ball rolling. By the way, Sirota at Daily Poster has been great in check out his articles, his research, his facts are all 100% right. And he's been leading through his reporting. And so he's been great on this. And now we're at a point where Bernie, it feels like he's gotta do it. It would be crazy not to do it. If he puts it in, we got a real shot at this. And if we win, all those people I just listed should receive all the credit in the world. And that's all of us fighting together for someone we don't know.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.